All right, Shalom, Yashwala, Shalom. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rachak Wadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopefully elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whomever you may be, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yashwala, Shalom. All right, so we're going to talk about, going back to Colossians chapter 1. I'm going to talk about a few things here. And this is pretty long, but I do want to read it because there's a lot of things in here, especially further below. There's a particular portion, but it's kind of down. And this is from Drive Through History Adventures, some random site. But what we want is the history dealing with this. So Colossae, right? So it says the city of Colossae in the Roman province of Asia was located primarily on the south bank of the Lycus River, inside the Lycus Valley, near the foot of the Mount Cadmus, southeast of Hierapolis, and southeast of Laodicea. Okay, because these three were, very close to one another, right? It says now about 1 mile north of the village of Honaz. It is an abandoned ancient site, all right, established as early as the 12th century BC during the Phrygian kingdom. Colossae had previously been a major city located around 120 miles east of Ephesus on the ancient road of the Anatolian coast. All right, if you don't know where Anatolia is, it's what you would know now as modern day Turkey. Okay, so it says 120 miles east of Ephesus on the ancient road from the Anatolian coast towards Syria and Mesopotamia, which meant that merchants, travelers, and armies would pass through the city. In about 481 BC, when Xerxes marched to Sardis on his way to Greece in the famous Battle of Thermopylae, he made a stop in Colossae. Herodotus Histories, I don't know what that is, but anyways. But yeah, I think it obviously wasn't mentioned, but it just makes me think about the 300 movie. But anyways, it says around 400 BC, Xenophon called Colossae one of 6 large cities of Phrygia. Xenophon Anabasis, however, it had lost its place of prominence by the 1st century AD when Paul wrote to the city. Nearby Laodicea was established in the 3rd century BC, taken over by Rome in 133 BC, and soon after the major road was relocated through Laodicea, bypassing Colossae and contributing to the rise of Laodicea and the decline of Colossae. In the 1st century, it seems that Colossae was a town, I guess called Polisma. I'm not sure if that's Greek or what, but anyways, Colossae was a town, and compared to Aphrodisias, a place with impressive remains, but not as large or important as the nearby city of Laodicea, with which Colossae was contrasted. It says the nearby cities of Laodicea and Hierapolis, and likely Colossae, were damaged or destroyed by an earthquake in 17 AD, rebuilt again, damaged by an earthquake in about 60 AD or so, and then rebuilt once again. Tacitus Annals, Eusebius Chronicle, Orosius. All right, so we don't really know if those sources are true or not, but you have to look into them for yourself. We're just going to get some basic things here. It says the fields around Colossae yielded produce such as olives and figs, and the many sheep pastured in the area contributed to a wool industry, which included the production of a popular wool dyed dark red or purple. It says in the 1st century AD, Pliny wrote about the purple wool of that Colossae was famous for, made with the dye from the cyclamen flower, and the Latin word colossinus, which is beautiful. If that's true, it's beautiful because remember not too far back we talked about the who was it? The Hamites, all right, the Phoenician city. What was it? Tyre, all right, because there was a thing called Tyrian purple, and if that source was correct, I think they made it from, what was it, man? Clam shells or something like that. All right, something that would, as far as let's just say food would be, it would be made from an unclean thing, which I don't think it would make sense for us to have worn something like that, because I don't really know, but I'm just kind of making an observation here. But yeah, we have. Colossians who made this out of, what was it? Let me see if I can find it real quick again. Wrote purple wool. Yep. Wrote about the purple wool made with the dye of a cyclamen fine. So then now you have a city that was making this a particular color, purple, also red, but it came from a flower. Okay, which wouldn't make it, not good for us to wear. So it would be okay for us to wear. But and that's I'm not saying I'm spot on with that. I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of observing here. But let's continue. It says, and the Latin word collicinus, purple wool, seems to be derived from the name of the city Pliny. I'm sorry, of the city. Rediscovered in 1836, but never excavated. Colossae was only mentioned in passing by ancient writers. I'm gonna jump down here because it's going deeper into the history, and this, you can read. Look, there's a Byzantine church. I want to get down here to the more important thing. If I can find it, I don't want to pass over it though. Look, check this out. It says, this may be related to repairs done to the city after the earthquake around 60 AD, which did significant damage to the cities in the valley. Several known varieties of Roman period coins of Colossae bear the name of the city, Roman officials, and various gods, right? Including Artemis, Helios, Dionysus, Deimos, Boule, Tyche, Isis, Serapis. Okay, you even have what Boule today, right? But these are, and it says Roman officials and various gods. All right, and these are, they sound like the Greek versions, if I'm correct, or it could be the Roman equivalents. Either way, they're the same thing. If there was a Greek name for a particular deity, and then there was a Roman name for the same thing, because the Greeks came before the Romans. So either way, it's the same, whether it be the Greek or the Roman equivalent. But this is a thing that they were heavily into, around this particular area. All right. There are a lot of different things, but one of those major things was worshiping angels and things of that nature. Okay, which is called Gnosticism. It says Tyche, Isis, Serapis, and a local Serapis jumped in there somewhere. He says Serapis, right? And a local river god. The coins demonstrate typical Hellenistic and Roman religion, plus local Phrygian deities worshipped in the region, the Roman imperial cult, and Judaism. Roman coins with the name of the city Colossae range in date from about 117 to 276 AD, but coins from as early as the 2nd century BC are also known. Okay, so let me see. Continue jumping down, see what we can find. There's a lot of history dealing here with Colossae, and let me see. Okay, so you can pause there and read that if you want to. Wait, hold on, let me pause right here. Let me go back. Okay. All right, let's see. It says, although Colossae was possibly the smallest of the 3 cities in the valley, the letter was sent to the church there because of the personal connections of Paul to Epaphras, okay, which is mentioned in Colossians 1, right? Philemon and Onesimus, right? Onesimus. And because Onesimus was returning to Philemon in Colossae with Tychius, which is in Colossians 4, verse 7 through 9, and Philemon 10. Okay. It says both Philemon. Oh, maybe they're talking about the verse. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think Philemon has many chapters. So probably Colossians chapter 4, verse 10 to Philemon, if I'm reading that correctly. It says both Philemon, who was a church leader and host, Onesimus, were members of the church in Colossae. Philemon 1 to 2, Colossians 4 9. It is also possible that there was a much larger Christian community in Colossae at that time, but by around 90 AD and the writing of Revelation, it has shifted to the major urban center of Laodicea, perhaps as a result of the earthquake in the region. Okay, it says the church in Colossae and the Lycus Valley apparently was established while Paul was living in Ephesus around 55 AD. The Christian who wrote who brought the gospel to Colossae and the surrounding area. Now, of course, it says Christian, but these modern day churches, especially the Christians, are not like the ancient days, and they will be known as Hamashiachans, all right? Those that follow Yahushua. So I'm just reading it verbatim just to get the info. It says the Christian who brought the gospel to Colossae and the surrounding area and continued to be a leader in the church. Epaphras had a name which has been found on a few Roman period inscriptions. Interesting, and seems to be a shortened form of Epaphroditus. Excuse me. All right. Then it has more scriptures here. Colossians 1:7. Okay. So on and so forth. Says a Greek English lexicon. Okay, actually, jumping down. It says, interestingly, I just said, an inscription found at Colossae contains the name T. Asinius Epaphroditus, demonstrating the use of the name in the Roman period at Colossae. Okay, it says, unlike many of the cities in Asia Minor, Paul did not bring the gospel to Colossae, and he may never have even visited the city. Yeah, and that's where Epaphras came in. Okay, he's the one that ended up, gaining, faithful believers. Okay, in Colossae. All right, through the teaching of the gospel, just like men do today. All right, in the most random cities where you never think there are men teaching, there'll be men teaching, and there'll be some believers there that follow those teachings, because that's the Spirit working, the Holy Spirit. It says when Paul finally wrote the letter to the Colossians, he was in prison, perhaps. We mentioned that before. It says he was in prison, perhaps in Caesarea, but more likely in Rome. Okay, and give you scriptures there, Acts 28:30-31. It says, since no mention of the earthquake is found in Colossians, the letters were probably written before the destructive 60 AD or so earthquake, soon after Paul arrived in Rome, which would make sense. Which doesn't necessarily mean he has to mention it, but it still makes sense though, because he probably would have, felt probably heartbroken if lives were lost or something like that. So he probably would have mentioned it. So, like I said, it makes sense. Paul's letter to Colossae, addressed to the church in that area with special mention of certain Christians, demonstrates that Christianity has spread to the Lycus Valley by the middle of the 1st century AD. Papyrus 46 from 200 AD or earlier, and found in distant Egypt, is a copy of Colossians that has preserved almost the entire letter, indicating the antiquity and authenticity of the letter to the Colossians. That's facts, because the Bible is true. Okay, doesn't matter if you don't believe it. The Bible's going to be true. Far more than merely a historical source about Christians in Colossae. But you wonder why these things are talked about in not the church, but in school, right? You get all this kind of history. You got a whole class called history or social studies, but you don't hear about these deep things of the Bible, right? Which are true. So it says the epistle also warned against heresies. Okay, getting down to some nitty gritty here. Heresies of religious syncretism. Okay. You can look that word up for yourself. I don't want to get taken off the page. May not be able to come back. But anyways, religious syncretism, or combining and replacing beliefs of Christianity with other religions or worldviews. Okay. That's the same thing that whatchamacallit did. What's his name? I can't even think of his name now. Okay, merging so-called, Christianity and paganism. I know you know what I'm talking about. I just can't think of his name right now off the tip of my tongue. It says the problems in Colossae included the adoption of Hellenistic philosophy. What is Hellenistic going into? Under the ways, like everything. All right, the language, the customs, eating habits, their false gods, and all these different things. All right, being Hellenized, taking these things on from another nation. Okay. It says adoption of Hellenistic philosophy, opposition to the complete deity and supremacy of the Messiah. Yeah, because they worshipped angels as well. So, it takes away from, Yahushua, all right, which in turn by default takes away from the Lord, who's higher than our Lord. Okay. It says opposition to the complete deity and supremacy of the Messiah salvation made complete through the work of the Messiah. Yeah, and we still have that today, man. People still think that they're going to make it by way of the law. Laws you cannot keep perfectly. And not only that, laws, by under the way of the law, you'd be condemned because there's no making it under the law. That's why Yahweh Shai came in, that you could receive mercy through your faith in him, you know. All right. He himself became the way and no longer the law. Doesn't mean we make void the law. Scriptures talk about that, but through the ways of the law, we were doomed. So Yahweh he did us a favor, man. Okay? But you have men that want to hang on to the law, the law, the law. You see? And so you see this was experienced in Colossae, all right? Who obviously, at some point, men started coming up and giving, false teachings, all right? And let me check my ticker, because this particular device I have is kind of glitchy there. It may cut off on me, so I like to check it on when I'm using this one. It says the problems in Colossae included the adoption of Hellenistic philosophy, opposition to the complete deity and supremacy of the Messiah, salvation. My screen got stuck. We'll just read until there we go. Okay, salvation made complete through the work of the Messiah, observation of rituals and laws such as food, drink, festivals, new moons, and Sabbaths. Well, there it is right there. Light it up. I don't think I can. All right, because this one's got a cracked screen. I cracked it more last week at camp. But anyways, festivals, new moons, and Sabbaths, worship of angels, false visions, asceticism, mysticism, and other man-made religious practices. You see? So these are things that even though when you read Colossians, you can't tell, but these are the things. See, look, acting funny. These are the things that Paul addressed. Okay, it's just that he talked about certain things. Okay, that's why he goes into. We're going to read a few things here in a minute. It's not just going to be all this. We're definitely going to go get some scriptures in Colossians. But yeah, this is why Paul mentioned what he was mentioning, and what he worded things the way that he worded things, because these are the things that he was addressing. All right, in the church of Colossae, especially the worship of angels, right? So it says, oh man, my screen got stuck again. All right, it's just acting a donkey. Just bear with it. So it says false visions, asceticism, mysticism, and other man-made religious practices. Let me see here. It says the cult of the angels at Colossae. Okay, that's still that part of that book. And the screen is stuck, man. Goodness. It says, look, the Nag Hammadi. Some people like to read that. Okay, tripping. Library for Gnostic belief that angels were creators. Okay, man, I really want to get down below. My screen is stuck. That's crazy. Let's do this. Let's see if we can. Okay, I can't even click that. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Bear with me. I'm going to try to reset everything. So I'm going to give a quick pause here. Everything is messing up. Okay, let me pause it. All right, Salakia. Everything shut down on me, so I'm just gonna come back. Because there was more here, and a couple of the things I wanted to get into before we get into the scriptures. When I get into the scriptures, I may actually just grab my other device and see can I do that, because I don't want it to cut off when we get into the scriptures. This is one thing, going into some history and whatever. But when I go into the scriptures, I don't want it to be chopped up. So let me see here. Because we read that, all right, the problems in Colossae included the adoption of Hellenistic philosophy, opposition to the complete deity and supremacy of the Messiah, salvation made complete through the work of the Messiah, observation of rituals and laws such as food, drink, festivals, new moons, and Sabbaths, worship of angels, false visions, asceticism, mysticism, and other man-made religious practices. Okay, so it says, we didn't even talk about. We read over that book, the cult of the angels at Colossae. The Nag Hammadi Library for Gnostic belief that angels were creators. Okay, it says the Book of Jubilees for placation of angels and asceticism, Book of Enoch for visions. These problems with false teachers are understandable in light of the religious diversity of Colossae, which included Hellenistic and Roman religion and philosophy. Yeah, you see, and so you see how it screws our people all up. virgin religion, and Judaism. And Paul actually mentions Greeks, Jews, barbarians, and Scythians in reference to those in the area of Colossae. Okay, yeah, because but this is the point that we always make, that Israelites were scattered, everywhere. Okay, so when it mentions these particular names of these cities, these settlements, it wasn't talking about the heathens, and that's why I mentioned the other week at camp, man. You really think Paul went to these particular areas and he spoke to the heathens to get them to come to the faith, right? But he just forgot all about his own people scattered into these particular places, man. You see, it's just silly. Doesn't make sense, man. Because he didn't go to those heathens. He went to the heathens, but there was an Israelite being called heathens or Gentiles, right? But I mean, he didn't actually go to the natural heathens and natural Gentiles. He went to his people. Okay, but people try to twist up the scriptures. All right, virgin religion and Judaism. Okay, we read that. Reference to those in the area of Colossae. A virgin named Aphia, a resident of Colossae in the region of Phrygia, with a name known from various inscriptions found in Phrygia, actually appears in a letter of Paul. Okay, historical sources demonstrate that Jews had lived in the region of Phrygia from at least the time of Antiochus III in about 200 BC, when 2,000 families were relocated from Mesopotamia, and that's in the Josephus Antiquities. Additionally, the large sum confiscated by proconsul Flaccus in Laodicea about 62 BC from the temple tax suggests a significant population of Jews in the Lycus Valley. Cicero pro Flacco. Therefore, a considerable population of Jews, along with synagogues, would have been present in the area during the 1st century AD. Yep. Inscriptions, coins, and artwork from the ancient site show the Hellenistic and Roman character of people living at Colossae. Therefore, the presence of multiple ethnic groups and religions at Colossae, as described by Paul, is also attested from several other sources. All right, and that was the end of that. So let me go ahead and keep it moving and try to pull up. We don't need that one, but I want to pull up these two here. Actually, this one, I believe this one is kind of off. Okay, there's some things in there that I think are kind of off there. All right, so this 60 AD, late in AD 60. This is I forget where I get this from. It came from Google somewhere. But anyways, late in AD 60, an earthquake destroyed Laodicea, right, which is modern day Denizli. Okay, you look that up on the map, as well as Hierapolis and Colossae, because they were in close proximity one to another, all three of them, near modern Pamukkale in Turkey. See, so like I said, you can look this up. It says Laodicea suffered more than the other two cities, but owing to its great wealth, was rebuilt out of its own resources without requiring any aid from the imperial government in Rome. Tacitus records that Laodicea was destroyed by an earthquake in Nero's 7th year, in which he made Tigranes king of Armenia, AD 60. He adds that Laodicea, and wait a minute. Okay, Nero. Okay, yeah, cool. I was thinking about something else. He says he adds that Laodicea was rebuilt out of its own resources without assistance from Rome. According to Eusebius, Laodicea, Hierapolis, and Colossae all fell in the same earthquake, which he dates AD 64 to 65. St. Jerome gives AD 64. But yeah, it says AD 60, and I'm going to go with, the AD 60, which that's what's been taught. So anyways, since these cities are only a few miles apart, it is quite possible they were hit by the same earthquake. A 9th century chronicler reports the same as Eusebius, adding that this was at the same time as fires in Rome. It is widely believed that in dating this event to AD 64, Eusebius and St. Jerome have in fact synchronized this Asian earthquake with that in Pompeii. Wait a minute now. Pompeii. If Pompeii was in line with the eruption of Mount Vesuvius? Because if the history is correct there, what I'm speaking on, then these dates don't add up, because that happened at the beginning of the reign of Titus, from around 79 to 81. I think it was. He was in rulership. I believe it was in 79 where Mount Vesuvius erupted. So that definitely, that's a question mark there. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do this. Let's jump over here and get this other one here that I have. We'll do this one. Okay. This is a PDF, or you can download it as a PDF from ResearchGate. It says the AD 60 AD, whatever, the Nizhly Basin earthquake and the apparition of Archangel Michael at Colossae, Aegean Turkey. That's also off, man, because the scriptures never talk about the Archangel Michael was the one that now the beautiful thing about it is it is possible that the Lord sent an angel to bring forth this earthquake. But what I'm saying is the scriptures never mention that, and it most definitely never mentions Michael, the archangel. So, because even if it did, which it doesn't, I'm just making a point, even if it did mention that an angel caused the earthquake, well, it would have to also mention directly Michael. So that right there is off. So don't believe that, okay? The earthquake is true, but we can't say that an angel did it, and we definitely can't say Michael, the archangel, did it, okay? I'm just saying that it's possible the Lord sent an angel to do the earthquake, right? Because he has, his angels, working for him. Okay, it would make sense, but we can't say that because that's not what the scripture says. Basically, what I'm saying. So it says, let me see here. We may not have to get into all of this. I'm just trying to get some nitty gritty here before we move on. At Hierapolis, it is possible to recognize evidence of surface faulting from the 80-60 earthquake at Colossae. We can reconstruct the local geomorphic evolution and show its relationship to the 80-60 earthquake. And I can't really, let me see. Put my Bible down. Give me a second. Okay, they're real small. It cleared up as I blew it up. But look, Temple of Apollo and plutonium. So it's showing you some good little stuff there. All right, but yeah, that's that angel worship, deities, and things of that nature. All right. Okay, that was it. Yep. So this is a whole, not letter, but writing there about, the 60 AD quake that struck this particular city we're reading about. There's more figures right here. Figure 1B is, I don't even know, so small, but you get, right. So, and I'll just pop this on the screen because there's a lot to read there, but it's a big history. But just don't, if you decide to look this up and read it for yourself, don't get swept up into the Archangel Michael bringing that earthquake. Okay, if the Bible doesn't say it, no, we're not going to teach it. And if the Bible said it, now this right here, what we have on the screen, will actually be an excellent piece of information because it will confirm what is in the Bible. But since it's not in the Bible, all right, that's fine. What we're going to teach here. We're just going to talk about the earthquake, which the earthquake is not in the Bible. But we know the earthquake was also historical. Okay, but to go as far as saying that the Archangel Michael did the quake, that's doing a little bit too much. Okay, you want to be careful with something like that. All right. So with that being read, let me check my ticker. All right. What we probably can do is go and get over here to Colossians now. I think that was it. Oh wait. Let's go and read this first. Let me move this down here. Do this. Get out the way. All right, let's do this. Let's read up Gnosticism real quick. I forgot about this one. Okay, Gnosticism from ancient Greek, meaning having knowledge. All right. Is a collection of religious ideas and systems that coalesced in the late 1st century AD among the Jewish and early Christian sects. These various groups emphasize personal spiritual knowledge, gnosis, above the proto-orthodox teachings, traditions, and authority of religious institutions. All right, being the churches that were established. Page from the Gospel of Judas. All right, Mandaean. And see, this is the thing we always mention too. We have what we need. Okay, the Lord compiled everything that we need into the Bible. We know there may be other things out there that may have truth in it, but it's not necessary. Like this right here, it says Gospel of Judas. This is possibly real, okay? But do we need it? No. Okay. In fact, if we go into it, you may get bugged out. The Lord gave us everything we need right here in the scriptures. Okay. So though this actually may be real, we don't need no Gospel of Judas. Okay. What's this? Mandaean Beth Manda Mashkana. It's in southern Iraq, 2016, a contemporary style Mandi, whatever. So it says Gnostic cosmogony generally presents a distinction between a supreme hidden God and a malevolent lesser divinity. Okay, sometimes associated with the biblical deity. Of course, it says Yahweh. All right, But anyways, who is responsible for creating the material universe? Consequently, Gnostics considered material existence flawed or evil. So you see how bugged out they were, and held the principal element of salvation to be direct knowledge of the hidden divinity attained via mystical or esoteric insight. Many Gnostic texts deal not in concepts of sin and repentance, but with illusion and enlightenment. Gnostic writings flourished among certain Christian groups in the Mediterranean world around the 2nd century, when the fathers of the early church denounced them as heresy. And they are heresies, okay? Efforts to destroy these texts proved largely successful, resulting in the survival of very little writing by Gnostic theologians. And yeah, beautiful, because these things are garbage, all right, to our faith. We should be believing in these things, okay? But of course, some things are still going to survive history. Nonetheless, early Gnostic teachers such as Valentinus saw their beliefs as aligned with Christianity. In the Gnostic Christian tradition, Christ, we're just going to read it verbatim. Christ is seen as a divine being which has taken human form in order to lead humanity back to recognition of his own divine nature. Partial truth, all right? But you have to pinpoint who he came for to bring us back to our first estate. That's the Israelites, right? He didn't come for the whole entire world, okay? It says, however, Gnosticism is not a single standardized system, and the emphasis on direct experience allows for a wide variety of teachings, including distinct currents such as Valentinianism and Sethianism in the Persian Empire. I was going to click on those, but you know what? If you want to look into it, you can click on those on your own time. I'm trying to, get through it. It says Gnostic ideas spread as far as China via the related movement, Manichaeism, while Mandaeism, which is the only surviving Gnostic religion from antiquity, is found in Iraq, all right, Iran, and diaspora communities. Jordan Buckley posits that the early Mandaeans may have been among the first to formulate what would go on to become Gnosticism within the community of the early followers of says Jesus. Like I said, we're just going to read it verbatim to get through it. Let's see here. Gnosis is a feminine Greek noun which means knowledge or awareness. It is often used for personal knowledge compared with intellectual knowledge. A related term is the adjective gnostikos, which means cognitive, a reasonably common adjective in classical Greek. Interesting. It says it began also to be associated with, by the Hellenistic period, it began also to be associated with Greco-Roman mysteries, becoming synonymous with the Greek term mysterion. Consequently, which I believe that goes back to, a mystery, if I'm correct. Consequently, Gnosis often refers to knowledge based on personal experience or perception. In a religious context, Gnosis is mystical or esoteric knowledge based on direct participation with the divine. In most Gnostic systems, the sufficient cause of salvation is this knowledge of acquaintance with the divine. It is an inward knowing comparable to that encouraged by Plotinus, Neoplatonism, and differs from proto-Orthodox Christian views. Gnostics are those who are oriented toward knowledge and understanding, or perception and learning as a particular modality for living. The usual meaning of Gnostikos in classical Greek text is learned or intellectual, such as used by Plato in the comparison of practicos and intellectual Gnostikos. Plato's use of learned is fairly typical of classical texts. All right. I see something talking about the Septuagint down there. So I'm going to read this last one. We'll move on. It says, for centuries, most scholarly knowledge about Gnosticism was limited to anti-heretical writings of early Christian figures, such as Irenaeus of Lyons and Hippolytus of Rome. There was a renewed interest in Gnosticism after the 1945 discovery of Egypt's Nag Hammadi Library, a collection of rare early Christian and Gnostic texts, including the Gospel of Thomas. And this is what bugs people out. Oh, yeah, then the Nag Hammadi, blah, 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 blah. Well, that doesn't make it, true as in, according to the faith, man. All right? Just because there's history that's written on certain things don't mean it's good for you, all right? Because these things can be garbage. Well, these things are garbage. What we're reading about now is garbage for you, okay? Just because you have, certain texts that survive, that were written about it in history, don't mean it's, oh man, they found this, they found that. Blah, blah, blah. It's real. It's real. Of course it's real. They found it, right? but it'll destroy you from the inside out, man, because you're eating some garbage, man. Okay? Your body's not a DeLorean. You can't put garbage in it that you're going to operate. Okay? But this is what bugs some people out. And I'm saying that because, before I came into the truth, and I'm still in the world, there were guys on the internet who spoke about the Nag Hammadi, okay? So, yeah. And you get it. You get it. Okay? Your brother's been around longer than me. You get it. A collection of rare early Christian and Gnostic texts, including the Gospel of Thomas and the Apocryphon of John. Elaine Pagels has noted the influence of sources from Hellenistic Judaism, Zoroastrianism, which we've spoken about before, and Platonism. Let me pull Zoroastrianism real quick. All right. Also known as Mazdaism and Bedin, is an Iranian religion among the world's oldest organized faiths. It is based on the teachings of Iranian prophet Zarathustra, okay, commonly known by his Greek name Zoroaster, as set forth in the primary religious text called the Avesta. Zoroastrians exalt an uncreated and benevolent deity of wisdom, commonly referred to as Ahura Mazda. Okay, I remember reading about that before. As the universe's supreme being opposed to Ahura Mazda is Angra Mainyu, who is personified as a destructive spirit and the adversary of all things good. Zoroastrianism combines a dualistic cosmology of good and evil with an eschatology that predicts the ultimate triumph of Ahura Mazda over evil. And that's similar to what you hear about today in what is it called? In the lodges, okay? What's the daggone? I mean the words on the tip of my tongue, man. Masons, the masonry, okay? All right, dealing a lot with duality and everything that we just spoke about, all right? As above, so below, and all those things. That's what Masons deal with, okay? And then at the end of your walk, you have to confess yourself to the some kind of supreme deity, whatever, and it turns out to be, I believe it's Baphomet, okay? And I don't know that because I was a Mason or nothing like that before, but I just read through a lot of things, all right? But yeah, they have meaning to all this duality they show and the checker flags and those degrees and all those things. It runs deep, okay? But it just makes me think about that because that's so similar to what they do today, man. And all these little different religions, man, they're pagans, man. Okay, and that's why people get destroyed under these things. It says Zoroastrianism combines a dualistic cosmology of good and evil with an eschatology that predicts the ultimate triumph of Ahura Mazda over evil. Opinions vary among scholars as to whether the religion is monotheistic, polytheistic, homotheistic, or a combination of all three. All right, so let's just go on back from there. I just wanted to get the briefness of what it's about. I'm gonna check my ticker. Cool. So it says, since the 1990s, the category of Gnosticism has come under increasing scrutiny from scholars. One such issue is whether Gnosticism ought to be considered one form of early Christianity, an interreligious phenomenon, or an independent religion. It doesn't really matter, man. It's not part of the faith. Okay, it's garbage for your DeLorean. Okay, going further than this, other contemporary scholars, such as Michael Allen Williams, Karen Lee King, and David G. Robertson, contest whether Gnosticism is a valid or useful historical term, or if it was an artificial category framed by proto-Orthodox theologians to target miscellaneous Christian heretics. All right, so that's a whole lot of background there. All right, dealing with that particular history, man, just centered around Colossae, also the earthquake and other things, like the things that Paul addressed in his writings. Because when you're going to these things, Paul is wording what he's saying a particular manner, but this goes into the deepness, and the understanding of why he worded those things, and talked and addressed those things that he addressed, because there were some faithful believers amongst them, but they were spewing this madness, okay, about Gnosticism and worship of angels and things of that nature. These deities. You had these Greek and Roman gods and things of that nature. Even the scriptures talk about. I think it mentions. Man, I can't even think of off the tip of my tongue right now. But there's a couple that are mentioned in the scriptures. Okay, Apollos. Okay, Hermes. What was the other one? Not Dionysius. Diana at Ephesus. I believe there was another one, but these things were mentioned in the scriptures because our people were worshiping these things. All right, these false gods, idol deities. Okay, worshiping angels. This Gnosticism and all these different things. So there were certain things that Paul had to address in his letters, man. No different from what John did. John heavily addressed these churches because John came from the standpoint of hey, there's some good things about you, but this is what needs to be addressed. And if you don't correct these things, the Lord's going, he's going to have his way with you. Okay, so both John and Paul were two of the most major ones that address issues within the churches, okay, of the ancient days. And what I'll do is, because we went so long, and he also had that broken clip. What I'll do is I'll stop this one right here, and I'll see if I can merge those two clips together to make this one session, and then we'll come back to the second session and jump into Colossians and get the few scriptures, based on everything that we read here. So, Lord, will you edify to this? And that's why I'm going to say shalom.